Listen to this episode if you want a full case study on how Coach absolutely revolutionized their brand in the last 2 years. This is something that I have really witnessed over these last couple of years. It's been something that has been very evident from me in my business marketing brain, and I really want to share a good example with you of how somebody really went through the process of bringing a brand back, positioning it to the correct audience, and really doing a great job of building a brand and not just selling a product. Coach, over the last 2 years, has 4x'd their stock price. 2 years ago, their stock price was about $24 a share. Today, it's $107 a share. They are in a major growth and expansion period. They were kind of dying off there for a little while. I feel like Coach was really hot and poppin' when I was a kid, and then it kind of died out there for like a decade at least, and now it's definitely coming back, and it's coming back strong, and now I'm starting to see them in many stores. Their marketing is really strong, and I want to bring that case study here today. Coach is a really interesting case study because their pricing is like mid-luxury, but their brand positioning is actually high-end designer luxury, and there's a lot that kind of goes into this. And so today we're going to do something kind of fun. These are things that bop around in my head all day long when I see brands and I see brands kind of come back into the market, or I just see some marketing that's really, really good. And I want to start bringing that to you to really share the good examples that are out there that you can witness, so you can kind of start to see how other brands are doing this and then maybe add that into your brand positioning as well. I think just having some examples is always helpful. So today we're really going to talk about the strategies that Coach is using, how they've really brought it back, and what is so incredibly interesting about their marketing and how you can actually apply this to your marketing as well. Without further ado, we're going to dive on in, but if we can just take 10 quick seconds to say hello, my name is Madison Page. I'm the host of the Small Business Growth Podcast. I'm a business growth specialist, and I work with product-based business owners to turn their small business into a brand so they can stand out and sell out and become that big name, household name that they're really talking about. Today, we're doing a fun case study episode, but we often talk a lot about strategy, mindset, being a business owner, how to build balance in your life and business, and so much more. So if you like this episode, make sure that you subscribe. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. So first things first, when it comes to Coach, what we really want to look at is there is this perception around Coach that is high end, yet they have a mid-luxury price point. So what's really interesting is they have branded themselves as a designer. You know, we think about designer bags. You kind of think about Chanel, you'll think about Louis Vuitton, you think about some of those big names that people really kind of gravitate towards, yet a lot of people's first designer bag is actually a Coach bag, and that's exactly what they are trying to do with making you feel like you were buying this high-end super designer bag, but yet it's still at a mid-luxury price point, meaning, you know, you can get a bag from $199 to maybe, you know, some of them are $400 or $500, but somewhere within there. You know, when we're talking about a Chanel bag or a Louis Vuitton, those can be thousands at the very least. And so they're very different price points, yet they're marketed similarly with this high fashion kind of vibe, as well as the experience when you go and shop at a Coach store is still like, you know, there's one bag on the shelf. It's kind of bespoke. It feels like you're really not supposed to touch anything. There is like an attendant there to kind of help you. So they're giving you a luxury experience, hoping to kind of tap in to become your first luxury bag, or at least be like a semi-aspirational purchase, but still have it where it's a little bit more of an accessible price point. So Coach positions themselves really visually and experientially like a high-end luxury brand, yet their price point is often a fraction of these other high-end brands out there. Their boutiques, their packaging, their customer service, their marketing, all mirror these other big name luxury high-end players. However, they're at a very different price point. It's pretty easy to find a bag out there for $200, $300 at this point. There are small businesses that are doing that all the time. There are plenty of brands out there that, gosh, my work bag is a leather bag I got off of Etsy and it was like $150. And so we have to see that the price point that they're selling at is still an aspirational price point. Don't get me wrong, spending $150 on a bag is still like an aspirational thing that people have, but it isn't as high end, high luxury, high designer as some of these other brands out there. So what they're kind of trying to give you is this like luxury light experience where customers feel like they're buying into luxury without having to spend $5,000. They still get the like added little bonus of walking around feeling like they have a designer bag, a Coach bag. It has a name, it has a status behind it, but it doesn't actually have to have that $5,000 price point on it. It is still aspirational, but it is still being a little bit accessible to people. So one thing that we want to look at for you and how you can really do this is you can still elevate your brand experience and create a premium feeling brand without the price point having to match. Now, you can't go the other way. You can't have a high price point and have not an elevated brand, but you can go this way. You can have a lower price point and have a more elevated brand where people are almost pleasantly surprised by the actual price point that you have. So think about the experience of when someone comes to your brand, and maybe you have a product that is in this luxury or mid-luxury price point, and that's different for every industry. If you're buying something that's traditionally like a claw clip that's $5 and all of a sudden you're spending $100 on a claw clip, that is a luxury claw clip, right? Because it's the difference, it's like the percentage change from the average versus where you're at. So within your industry, if you are at a more premium price point, or if you are in a mid-luxury price point, how is your experience? Does your brand experience really match up to that? Have you really created this vibe and this experiential kind of side to your business when they come in contact with it? How are people feeling? This is what we talk about when we talk about branding and how people make you feel. It comes down to the visuals that you have. Looking at Coach, they have very high fashion visuals. Another one that they do is, again, their store, their packaging, their customer experience, all mirror high-end luxury designer. And then when people come to shop, they're almost, again, pleasantly surprised that it's actually the price point that it's at. And so you can feel premium, you can feel higher end than what your brand actually is. That's okay. You add a lot of perceived value to something just based on how people actually feel when they come in contact with your brand. So something you can think about is, when people come in contact with you, are they feeling like it's a small business? Are they feeling like, oh, this is cool, like this person's doing this on the side, or like, well, there's this cool little small business? Or are they feeling like it's a brand? Are they feeling like they're getting this more premium experience? You don't have to do this. You should always have some element of customer experience, but if you have a more premium product, we want to think about, what is it like to actually shop from you? What does it mean about this consumer? Because again, for a lot of people, Coach is their first luxury purchase, and that is what they are really going for. And this kind of brings us to talking about their demographics and how clear it is who they're actually speaking to within their marketing. If you look at this, they are targeting younger demographics. The latest campaign has Lola Tongue from The Summer I Turned Pretty. Your girl has been obsessed with this show all summer long. Cannot wait for actually the finale of it all. But Lola Tongue is like this younger, probably Gen Z, young millennial that is with this show that again is targeting to Gen Z, young millennials, other than traditional luxury brands that often use, supermodels and runway stars and big time celebrities that are older and kind of more professional, a little bit more well established. Like, they have kind of that household name. Not that Lola Tongue isn't a celebrity. She is at this point 100%, but they partner with celebrities and influencers that resonate with younger customers. So they had Selena Gomez, they had Lola Tongue. They have people that kind of are the demographic that they are trying to attract. It's the people that they feel called to. And when we look at this, what they're really trying to do is, again, they're trying to market themselves as that almost like gateway into the luxury market. And so they're using their people, they're using their messaging, they're using even the styles of their bags are for the younger market. And if you look at who's really loving, like their Brooklyn bag is kind of the bag that has kind of taken off on TikTok and gone viral. It is a lot of the Gen Z young millennial. They're basically trying to attract that TikTok audience, and they've done a really good job with it. And they've started to, send influencers that that again are speaking to that audience, using other celebrities. They're basically using, it's called association networks in sales psychology, is when we see somebody like Lola Tung, she's the star of this show, The Summer I Turned Pretty, that is kind of marketed towards like, young Gen Z, young millennials. We associate those two things at a similar demographic. That's why we say, okay, this is where this person is. If she likes it, I must like it as well. If we both like these things, or if I like her style, she must also like it. And so they're trying to build that association network with our demographic, with like my age range from Gen Z to young millennial, that they can really bring that in. When we talk about accessibility, it also builds loyalty and excitement, and it can be a little bit more of a binge purchase. People can justify spending $150, $200, $300 a lot easier and quicker than spending $5,000. So, the coach captures that buyer earlier in their shopping journey. They capture them earlier. They get that dopamine hit. They're like, well, this feels like I'm buying designer. Why would I want to kind of move up and buy $5,000 bags when I could just kind of stick in this and buy a couple of $250 bags instead? It's often that customer's first designer purchase, and it makes them feel so good. There's a lot of dopamine, there's a lot of serotonin in that. People really love that kind of hit of dopamine when they do purchase from you. And so we want to try to go into that, lean into that. So for you, a major lesson you can take about this is meet your ideal customers where they're at. What other brands are they really loving right now? What movies are they really loving? What other, pop culture? It doesn't mean that you need to go work with Selena Gomez or celebrities, but if you know your ideal customer loves Rhode, they're obsessed with Rhode, okay, cool. Let's add that in to your marketing. Let's try to pair you right next to that same brand, because in their head, again, we're creating those association networks where they're like, okay, she likes it, I must also like it. You need to meet your ideal customers where they're at in the journey and really know how you're really speaking to them in that. Instead of assuming that they're ready for your highest level product, give them an entry point, or you can be that entry point into the brand, or you can be the premium in your industry as well. I have plenty of clients that, we see that a lot of small business side hustlers are making this product, but there's not really a premium in your industry. We can also become that premium, but then we have to have the experience that kind of matches up to it. Another really interesting thing that Coach does is they have outlet stores, which again really solidifies this feeling of trying to be kind of that gateway, trying to be that first major designer purchase, being a little bit more accessible. They are heavily criticized over their outlet stores. An outlet store, basically like a discount store. They have outlet stores nationwide, and it's something that most luxury brands avoid is discounts, sales, outlet. You also can buy Coach Outlet online. Like, it's not just you have to be at one of their like few couple of outlet stores. They have Coach Outlet online that you can shop. And it's basically like their sales section that they constantly have bags in that are discounted. You can really hear my Midwest accent coming out when I start talking about bags. Sorry about it. I'm from Wisconsin. Give me a break. But when we start talking about outlet stores, oftentimes when we look at traditional marketing for luxury brands, especially just like premium luxury, even mid-luxury brands, we don't think about, okay, let's discount all the time. Let's have stuff that's constantly discounted, because oftentimes that actually draws away from the luxury feeling of the brand. So outlets make this brand more accessible than it already is, and it reinforces kind of like that mid-luxury category. It reinforces them really pointing to the fact that they are trying to be this accessible mid-luxury brand, but yet they are positioning themselves as a mirror of some of these other luxury brands out there. While some people argue that this might cheapen their image, Coach uses it as kind of like a volume play. They know that people want a designer purchase. They know people like this like dopamine hit that they get from buying a brand, from feeling like it's a luxury purchase. And so they're using this as a way, again, to capture young and new buyers, but they're also utilizing this as a way for them to get more people into their brand and to really separate themselves from everybody else. They have repositioned themselves as this younger kind of demographic. Because when I was a kid, it was more moms. Like, I feel like every mom at the suburban soccer tournament had a Coach bag, and they all looked the same. They were kind of like, they had the C's on them. Everybody kind of had those, but now they've made this shift, and they've always had outlet stores, but they've made this demographic shift. In their marketing, they're speaking to younger people. They're on TikTok. They're using TikTok influencers because they've basically tried to renegotiate their positioning and their ideal customer and the demographic of who they are trying to attract to get kind of this first time designer buyer and people that want a little bit more. Maybe they want 5 Coach bags as opposed to having 1 Chanel bag or something like that. They do maintain aspiration. Despite the outlet stores, Coach still protects its main branding through the boutique experience, the exclusive drops, the big name collaborations. So what they've basically done is they have created this gateway effect into the luxury market. Owning a Coach bag feels like owning luxury. It's a social signal. It's a personal signal. It's an ego boost of I have a designer bag. I bought a designer bag. It's cute. I love it. It has this name to it. It has this status behind it. And this is powerful for young buyers who are just starting to make their money. They really want this luxury experience. They want the status of feeling like they have the true designer bag, which it is designer and it is luxury, but it doesn't have to be the true luxury cost. Hey, I'm jumping in here for 30 quick seconds for those of you listening and thinking, all right, but how do I actually apply this to my business? Every week here, I share strategies, case studies, growth mistakes to avoid, but your business growth is nuanced. So your business support has to be nuanced as well. That's why all of my support includes me inside of your business, your ideas, your launches, your content, perfecting what you're already building and uncovering your hidden opportunities to scale. This isn't a cookie cutter course. It's a high level personalized support system to help you optimize your brand, your strategy, and every single person your business touches. If you want my eyes and my brain on your branding, your sales, your marketing, and your overall growth plan, click the link in the show notes to apply. Let's see what we can build together. So again, what they've done is they've just positioned themselves so incredibly well. They are a category leader here. By embracing this gateway role, they've basically led the category of this mid-luxury bag purchase for a long time. But recently, they really made a comeback within their marketing since starting to change this demographic. Instead of trying to market to maybe moms or people that are a little bit older than Gen Z, young millennials, they're a little bit more like middle-aged moms, things like that. That was who their demographic was before because they felt like it was a broader audience. Those are the people that have money. It's kind of like that is who a lot of these luxury brands are trying to sell to. However, they said, we're not quite at the Chanel, Louis Vuitton level. We're at this other mid-luxury price point. Who would want this? They saw this gap within the market. They saw that there's not really a market leader of designer bags at this more accessible price point. I really can't think of any other brand that has the brand name and the household vibe, like the actual market share that Coach really has within this industry. By embracing kind of this gateway role, Coach isn't competing head to head with these other designers anymore because they aren't apples to apples, but they're putting themselves on that exact same playing field, yet their price point is lower. So they basically have this own space that is this accessible designer kind of style of stuff. They've become kind of the training ground for these luxury buyers. Again, they're like this gateway. This is where people are getting a taste of it. Sometimes it's okay for you to look at your industry and see that there's a white space, see that there is a spot that there isn't somebody and say, okay, how can I perfectly position myself to here? We don't see many other brands within the bag purse kind of industry trying to do this, trying to attract this younger buyer because traditionally younger buyers don't have the same amount of money as a middle-aged buyer. That's just how it works. But because they have positioned themselves, kind of created this gateway, utilized a status of figures, influencers, celebrities that this demographic really relates to, they have really called in this demographic. And now their key demographic is between the ages of 20 and 40. And so that is a really big shift from before when their demographic was 35 to 55. So when we really look at their share price, so their stock price has 4x'd in 2 years since starting to make these changes. Now there's some of these that have their price point hasn't changed. Their outlets were always there. All of that has been around. What they've really done is they've repositioned their brand. brand. Again, they were using the influencers. They've nailed the messaging. Go and look at their Instagram. If you're not driving, go and look at their Instagram right now and you will see this. They utilize other figures and other status symbols. They utilize other brands that this demographic is feeling really called to. They utilize trends that this demographic is really called to. They're in the space that this demographic is where they are. They're sponsoring shows that are made for this demographic. So basically what they did is they changed their demographic and then said, now where is this demographic and what would make them want to buy? And they put themselves in the places where that demographic is. They created the messaging, they've created the influencers that make sense, and they've really positioned themselves as this new kind of gateway into luxury. So something we want to look at here is kind of like a summary, is they have a different price point, a lower price point than what the experience would give off. You have such a luxury experience working with these people. You can go in and they will clean your bags or they'll monogram your bags. They'll do all of these different things. You know, their stores feel luxury. The experience feels luxury. The customer service is really, really good. And so they're giving you a luxury experience at a not luxury price point. And so what that means is it allows people to get that dopamine hit. It allows people to still feel like they are shopping designer when they don't really want to drop $5,000 on a bag. Like, not everybody wants to do that. They also have kind of used this accessibility as a strategy, and this entry point kind of can build longer term customers or at least earlier customers. Like, people can afford this bag a little earlier because they can justify spending $150 at an outlet Coach store. But, you know, what we have to know here is that all of these things have like a really high profit margin, so they're allowed to do it. So one thing that I do just want to clarify here is you'll hear me say that I don't want you to differentiate based on being affordable. There's a difference between affordable and accessible. Again, these bags are not quote unquote affordable. I don't like the word affordable because what's affordable to me is different to you versus, you know, Margot Robbie. We all have a different level of affordability, all right? Like, affordable is a relative term. So what we're really looking at here is accessibility. We're saying we are allowing for a larger market. It being more accessible is the strategy. Not that they're trying to be as affordable as possible, because if they were trying to be as affordable as possible, their bags would be $15, $20, right? Those are two very different things. So what I want you to think about right now is, how are you positioning yourself within your industry? I think a lot of times we can kind of just think of our brand as we are in our own lane, but you're not. If we think about this, whether you sell clothing, whether you sell sunscreen, skincare, bags, whatever, if you have a startup, whatever your product is, there are other people within your industry creating something else. Unless you have completely invented something, which is pretty hard to do. You might have invented something within another category. But looking at your industry right now, where is your stake in the ground? Where is your brand positioning? You need to have a position that there isn't a bunch of other people in, especially if there's some really big, you know, names within your industry already. If you have a brand, like, let's think about like athleisure. I feel like so many new kind of athletic wear, athleisure, like Set Actives, things like that, kind of brands that are similar to that are coming out right now. There's a lot of small businesses trying to get into that realm. You have to find something within the athleisure, athletic wear, leggings, and sports bra industry for you to really put your stake in the ground that this is what you are going to do really well, or this is who you're trying to attract, or this is what purchasing from you means differently than other people. So we want to think about your positioning, and that's really what Coach has done really well, is they have basically positioned themselves as this gateway, as a luxury brand at a mid-luxury price point that allows for people to be very magnetized to it with a different demographic than normally a designer brand really would be magnetized to. I want you to think about your business. Where can you create an experience? Where can you set yourself apart from other people within your industry? How can we look at your industry and say, hey, there's not really somebody doing this. That's where you need to be. How can you better clear that message? Another piece, another takeaway here is, how can you best relate to your ideal customer? You know, knowing if your ideal customer is a Gen Z or if they're a Gen X is really important. What products are they liking? Where are they currently consuming? What trends are they seeing? And how can we kind of use your brand and the marketing that you have to relate to them, to speak to them, and to basically subliminally tell them, hey, I am somebody that you would want. We are a brand that you would be interested in because we also associate with these other brands. Again, you don't actually have to partner with Rode in order to use Rode within your marketing to set yourself at the same point as them. You'll see a lot of brands do this with like a Vogue magazine or, Prada sunglasses or something that is already known as a luxury brand or as a premium within the industry. They put that within their marketing to try to kind of steal the brand value and, the perceived value of that brand and put it within yours as well. So I really think that Coach is such a good case study. I want you to go look at their marketing and really see where they're doing this. Find examples of this. The outlet is a really big one. The influencers are a really big one. The trends that they use is a really big one. It shows you the demographic that they're trying to speak to, and you can kind of see how they've done this. And clearly it absolutely worked for them. For decades, they were kind of stuck in this, stuffy, kind of high-end, high fashion type of marketing. When they started to become more lifestyle, when they started to relate more to like a younger consumer, it put them at the same level. They still have this aspirational element to them, yet it kind of brings them down to earth a little bit. It humanized the brand and it reinvigorated them back into the market, which allowed them to 4x their stock price in just 2 years. They absolutely changed the way they were marketing, who they were selling to, the messaging that they had, and really how they were positioning their brand. And it absolutely worked. And I went into a Coach outlet the other day. I was just at an outlet mall and I saw it. And the whole store was filled with this demographic. It wasn't the same demographic that it used to be when I would go with my mom as a kid. Yes, the age range is a little bit different back in the day when I was a kid, but it is still one of those things that it attracted the right audience, and the evidence that we can see, it is clearly working for them. I don't want to say that they're back on the map, but they are absolutely much closer. They've had viral products. Like everybody is talking about the Brooklyn bag, and the suede Brooklyn bag is coming back for the fall. And that's because they've created this element of virality within this demographic on TikTok. That's where they are. That's where people shop. And you don't see, Chanel or Louis Vuitton trying to do that because they're trying to attract a different audience, right? And so I really think it's good to see and use these other examples. And so you can go and see what strategies these other brands are doing. I think I want to do this kind of going into the holidays as well. I'm going to do this on my Instagram. It's kind of like steal the strategy that the big brands are doing throughout the holidays. So I can kind of let you in on some of these strategies because I look at their marketing and that's what I see. But it's because I have this marketing brain. Trust me, going on a road trip with me down a highway with a bunch of billboards is brutal. Ask my fiance, because I'm like, that was a stupid billboard. Love that messaging. That makes no sense. And the whole time I'm just analyzing it. And so I might as well start bringing that to you from marketing, social media and how that really is. If this is a type of episode that you really like, absolutely let me know. If there's a brand that you would love for me to do a case study on that you really like, I would absolutely love to know. Please DM me at This Is Madison page. It makes my day. Would absolutely love to have you inside over there as well. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you kind of enjoy seeing the inside scoop of a marketing strategy and the marketing brain and how they're really doing this. Go over to their Instagram and kind of look at what they're doing and try to pinpoint other strategies, and let me know if you find anything else that you think is really interesting. I hope this was helpful for you. Follow the podcast. We put out new episodes every Tuesday and Friday. If you liked this, I'm going to start doing it a little bit more often throughout the holiday season. I love you. I'm rooting for you. I'm in your corner always, and I will see you in the next episode. If you found today's episode helpful and are looking for more tangible ways to grow your business, make sure you are subscribed to the show. If you want to dive deeper into this topic more, click the link in the show notes and join our completely free podcast community where we dive into every single podcast topic, as well as give some bonus support and free coaching calls. And finally, if you are interested in getting my eyes on your business to find your hidden opportunities to scale, apply to work with me one-on-one in the show notes or on our website. Remember, it's not enough to listen. Don't forget to implement too. I love ya. I'll see you in the next episode.